Yo, Kipis guy here, hey, and welcome to part 3 of MiniDSP, setting it up, getting our subwoofers time aligned, getting them nice and crispy in your home theater. We've done part 1, part 2, and now we're on part 3, and we're going to talk about kind of rounding everything out, finishing everything, adding a PEQ, getting our parameter equalizer, deciding if we want to do a manual EQ or an auto EQ, and then seeing how that affects our graph. We're going to talk about that right now.
Now, if you thought you were done at this point, well, you're not. We got more to do. You guys take a look here on your graph. At the top right hand, you'll see this icon that says EQ. We want to hit this button. What this is going to do is help us try to smooth this line. We're going to add EQ to our subwoofers. Remember, we're treating all of our subwoofers as one big sub. So all the changes that we make to one will affect all of them because we want them to be one big sub instead of 3 individual ones, or however many you have. Again, this line right here is all my subs together, so we want all subs to be playing the same frequencies at the same volume. That was the point of time aligning them all so that they all do the same thing. Now, we're going to hit EQ, and what you're going to see here is your graph that you've made on the previous screen, and now we have a target curve. There's some settings that we want to do. Now, under here, under generic, we want to hit what you're using as your DSP. I'm using the MiniDSP here, and under target settings, we want to make sure that we get this set correct. Make sure that it's set the subwoofer, and we don't really want it to add any bass management. We want our receiver or preprocessor to actually be doing this part when you run calibration. So we want to set this to just any kind of ridiculously high number way above your crossover. I'm going to set my crossover probably 80-90 hertz, but to make sure that the MiniDSP and Room EQ Wizard is not bass managing anything, I'm setting it to a really high number. Same thing with the cutoff. I'm going to set this to 0. I don't want the Room EQ Wizard to be bass managing anything. My receiver is going to do that for me. Now, as far as these numbers down here, I actually had some help with this. I wasn't too sure what it was telling me. I see what it's doing to the graph, but I wasn't sure what it's telling me. So I'm going to show you guys what was suggested to me. So what we're doing down here is adding a house curve, a room curve. You may have heard it before on videos or forums, whatever, talking about room curves, house curves. I usually add a house curve in my Anthem Avium 70, but I'll do it here. So you want to click on add room curve here, and then I was told that what we want to do is put the LFE or LF rise start at 100 hertz and do the end at 100, or excuse me, at I think it's 30. Supposedly this sounds pretty good, so we'll try it. So this rise slope here, what this is going to do is control this blue line here. We want this blue line to be about 85 dB. That's our target level. So I'm going to raise this slope here until we get that blue line. You guys may be seeing it moving at the top left of your screen. We want to keep rising this until we get to about 85 dB. That's about it there. I'd say right there. And what we want to do here, we remember our last frequency graph we made here. We want to keep this high and add a roll off so that it gradually rolls off into our main speakers. It's a nice smooth transition. So we want the low frequencies to stay loud. We want the higher frequencies to start to roll off into our speakers. And we usually want the top of the line here to be 85. We want the bottom line here to be more like 75, about a 10 dB difference between what's up here and what's down there. So I'm going to go ahead and set that. You can change the fall off slope if you like to. So I'm going to get that taken care of until my line looks like we need it. Alright, so now we have our line 85 decibels up here, and at its lowest point is 75 dBs. That's great. Filters here. Let's see if I can scroll down to the bottom here. I was told a recommendation here. Actually, I think this is fine. Max match range 10. Individual max boost 5 dBs. You don't want to boost too much. You don't want to raise these levels too high. And then I have these two click here. You want to go down to match response to target. This is going to change the graph here. We're going to click OK if you see this pop up. There you go. So now it's made a new line for us. It's smoothed it out for us so that we get a 10 dB decline as we get here. What we want to do now is save filter coefficients. So you're going to save MiniDSP, hit OK, and find the location where you can save this. I've been saving it under documents, under curve here. I'm going to call it curve. Hit save. It's going to ask me to overwrite. I've done this before, so I'm going to hit yes. And now we're going to go into our MiniDSP. Right where you guys see PEQ. This is your parametric equalizer here. We have it for all four. We're going to hit PEQ on output number 1. Click on menu at the top of your screen and make sure you're in advanced mode. You need to be in advanced mode to apply the EQ you just made in Room EQ Wizard. What you want to do, again, go to advanced mode, hit menu, go to load, and then you want to click on your file here. Let me find it. It takes me forever. Here we go, finally found it. I have it named curve right here under MiniDSP. We're gonna double click it or hit open. And now that same curve, that same EQ we had here that we're trying to get, we now uploaded it here into our PEQ. Now, this only works for one sub if you only have it under output 1. We want all of our subs to have the same EQ. So what we can do is link these together. So I'm gonna link Rhythmic together with the other Rhythmic since they're the same sub. We're gonna hit yes. Then we're gonna go to my second sub. We're gonna load that same file sitting right here for me. Boom, there it is. And we wanna link these two subs together. So we're linking output 1 and output 2 together, and we're linking output 3 and output 4 together. So now they all have the same EQ applied. Again, our goal here is to make sure that all of our subs are playing the exact same info. So if I click on sub 1, output 2, output 3, output 4, they're all playing the same EQ. They all have the same parameters applied. So if we go back to Room EQ Wizard, we'll just shut this down. Let's go to measurements. This was our line before we add a parametric equalizer. We're going to hit measure, hit start. And we're going to name this PEQ. And let's take a look what we did here. So we've lost just about a dB of volume here. That's fine. That was intentional. What we did was gain all the way up to about 35 hertz. We gained it all the way around. More bass here. What we did here was start to taper off. We put this in here on purpose, right? We wanted this to start to roll off because now we're starting to get into our sub territory. So if I cross over at 80 hertz, which is right here, if I cross this over, this is what we have essentially. Let me get rid of the orange line. This is what our PEQ curve now looks like. It's relatively flat and starts to roll off as it gets towards its crossover that we're going to set later on. Now you can leave the orange one if you like to. If you rather not have a parametric EQ, you don't have to. And me personally, I like this line so much more that I probably won't add any kind of PEQ. So instead of adding this, I'm going to leave this alone. What I'll do is go back to my MiniDSP and I'm going to unlink all these channels here. Actually, I'll just go to disable. So I can disable. Actually, we'll make it faster. Let's unlink and then reset to default. Go to ceiling, reset to default. Go to rhythmic, let's unlink it. And we will reset to default. Do that again for the last sub, reset to default. Now we don't have any kind of PEQ applied at all. And this is what our line looks like. You can do your own PEQ if you like to. Let's say you don't like that there is this dip right here about 53 hertz. What you can do is go and set your PEQ to input 1. Again, this is all 4 subs together, not individually, all 4 subs. Go to input 1 PEQ. And now you can make your own EQ if you like to. This is where people get in trouble. It is highly important that you don't go here and start boosting a whole bunch of frequencies. You will toast all 3 of your subs at the exact same time. You'll blow all of them. So why do I say that? Let's use this for example. We don't like 53 hertz because let's see how big of a gap this is. From this peak here is 96 all the way down to 82. So there's a 14 decibel dip between 40 and 54 hertz, right? So you may think, okay, well, let me just go to my PEQ and boost 50 hertz, 14 dB. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. That will blow your sub after the first action scene in the movie. You're done already. You can boost a little bit. That's not a problem. 3, maybe 4 dBs. You generally won't hurt anything. But the better thing to do is try to lower the frequencies around it. So instead of boosting 54 hertz to try to meet it up here, let's lower 60 hertz and try to meet it down there. That way you're adding more headroom to your subs, but you're still smoothing the response out just like you would be if you're raising 50. It's very important to sit down and play with this because what you think makes sense doesn't always make sense. But having a graph to show you what's going on will put it in perspective for you. So overall, I'm not too mad at this graph. I will continue to try to smooth it out, but this is not a bad line how it is. So this is the final graph that I have decided to be content with. Yes, I can continue to make it flatter, but I don't really want a flat sound. I want a kind of energetic, characteristic sound. You know, having a flat sound is great. It's pretty neutral, but I think speakers that are the best speakers have a lot of character to them, a special sound to them, and having a flat sound can be boring. So I'm happy with this. I may go back and make it a little bit better. I ended up making my own PEQ down here in the MiniDSP. If I click on this here, we can take a look at it.
And we will take a look at it in part 4. Remember, there's a playlist down below called MiniDSP. Make sure that you're following along. If you're using a MiniDSP, make sure you start from part 1, go through all the parts, and keep following me so that you guys can set your home theaters up perfectly too. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for part 4, and we will see you in the next video. Keep this guy out. Peace.